The city of Lagos was still awake long after the sun had gone down. The air carried a mix of roasted corn, car fumes, and the echo of laughter from roadside bars. Beneath the glimmer of neon lights, a young woman named Amara stood motionless at the edge of a busy street, her high heels sinking slightly into the dust. Her makeup was ruined, mascara streaming down like black rain on her cheeks. Her once elegant red dress clung to her body, torn slightly at the side. In her trembling hand was her phone, the last link to the man who had just shattered her world, Chaik, the rich businessman she had given everything to. She had met Chaik a year ago, back when she worked as a waitress in a small restaurant in Surulere. He came in one rainy afternoon, dressed in a crisp white shirt and gold wristwatch that glittered even in the dim light. His charm had filled the room like a warm wind. He called her "my diamond in the dust." And Amara, who had grown up in a poor family that struggled to eat 3 meals a day, believed every word he said. But tonight, that same man drove away in his sleek black Range Rover, leaving her stranded on the roadside. Amara's chest rose and fell as tears streamed freely. "You promised me, Chaik," she whispered to the air. "You said I was your forever." Her voice cracked like dry earth. She called him again, but the phone went straight to voicemail. She texted him a dozen times, each one more desperate than the last. "Please, just tell me what I did wrong. Don't leave me like this. Chaik, please." But nothing. She finally sank to the ground beside the gutter, ignoring the strange looks from passers-by. Cars honked. People stared. The world kept moving, but her world had stopped. A small group of street boys sat nearby, around a fire made from old tires. They were the invisible faces of the city boys who survived by cleaning windshields, collecting bottles, or stealing food when hunger got too strong. One of them, a slim young man named Tund, noticed her from afar. He nudged his friend. "See that woman? She's been sitting there for more than 20 minutes. His friend laughed. "Forget her, my guy. Maybe she's one of those rich people who lost her way." But Tund couldn't ignore her. Something about the way she clutched her bag, or maybe the emptiness in her eyes, reminded him of his own mother, the woman who had died trying to give him a better life. So, he stood up and walked slowly toward her. "Madam," he said gently, his voice rough but kind, "you day okay?" Amara looked up, startled. Her eyes widened at the sight of a street boy barefoot, wearing torn jeans and a faded yellow t-shirt. "Go away," she snapped, her voice trembling. "Please, just leave me alone." But Tund didn't move. "It's not safe to sit here at this hour." "You go home?" "I have no home to go to," she muttered, more to herself than to him. The boy crouched down beside her, keeping a respectful distance. "Na Lagos," he said softly. "This city no care whether you fine or rich. If you no stand up, go swallow you whole." His words hit her like truth she didn't want to hear. For the first time, she really looked at him, the dirt under his nails, the scars on his arm, the sincerity in his eyes. He looked poor, yes, but not broken. "I just need to think," she whispered. "Then think where you no go end up for trouble," Tund said. He pointed toward a small shed nearby. "You fit sit there. I no go touch you." Amara hesitated but finally nodded. She followed him to the shed, a small place made of wood and metal scraps. Inside was a worn-out mat and a flickering lantern. "You live here?" she asked quietly. He smiled. "Sometimes. Other times, street is my roof." Amara sat down. For the first time that night, she felt a little safe. She didn't know why, maybe because this boy, despite having nothing, had shown her more kindness than the man with everything. Tund offered her a half bottle of water. "Drink. You go feel better." She took it hesitantly, sipping slowly. After a few moments, she whispered, "He left me." Tund looked at her but didn't interrupt. "He said I wasn't good enough for his family. That I don't fit into their world," she said bitterly. "After everything I did for him, after all the promises." Tund nodded slowly. "Rich people get 2 hearts. One for show, one for use. The one for show no fit love poor person. That made her laugh weakly, even through her tears. "And what about you? You talk like you've seen too much." He shrugged. "I've seen enough. When you live on the street, every day na lesson." They sat in silence for a while. The city hummed around them, distant horns, shouting traders, the rhythm of Lagos life never resting. Amara leaned back against the wall. "You don't even know me, but you helped me." "Why?" Tund looked down at the dirt floor. "Because I know how pain they feel. And sometimes, small kindness fit save person life." Something inside her softened. For the first time since Chike drove away, she felt seen not as a trophy, not as a mistake, but as a human being. She didn't notice when she started crying again, this time quietly. Tund didn't try to stop her. He just sat beside her, silent and patient, as the night deepened. Hours later, the city began to quiet down. The streetlights flickered, and a cool breeze swept through. Tund spread his old jacket on the ground and gestured toward it. "You fit rest small. Morning go come soon." Amara hesitated but eventually lay down. The ground was hard, but exhaustion pulled her into sleep. Tund sat near the door, watching over her. The moonlight touched her face, revealing the traces of the woman she used to be, proud, hopeful, and hurt. He sighed. In his heart, he knew she didn't belong in his world. But life had a strange way of bringing people together when they needed each other most. When dawn broke, Amara woke up to the smell of roasted yam. Tund was squatting outside, blowing on the fire. He handed her a piece. "You eat," he said. "I no get spoon, so manage." Amara took it, smiling faintly. "Thank you, Tund." He looked surprised. "You remember my name?" "You told me last night," she said softly. "And I never forget people who show me kindness." They ate in silence, both lost in thought. When she finished, Amara stood up and dusted off her dress. "I can't stay here forever," she said. Tund nodded. "I know. You go do what you need do. But no forget who help you when you no get anybody." She looked at him, her eyes soft. "I won't forget." She started to walk away, but halfway down the road, she stopped and turned back. "Tund." He looked up. "I don't have much," she said, pulling a small gold bracelet from her wrist, "but take this. Maybe you can sell it for food." He shook his head. "No. Keep 'em. You go need 'em later." Amara smiled faintly. "You're different from other people." He laughed. "Maybe not because I no get anything to lose." Then, with a final wave, she disappeared into the crowd. Tund watched her go, wondering if he would ever see her again. But something deep in his chest told him their story wasn't finished yet. Because sometimes, the people we meet in our lowest moments are the ones destined to lift us up later. And for Tund, that night had changed something inside him too. As the sun rose over the noisy, colorful streets of Lagos, he whispered to himself, "Maybe one day, I go make something of myself. Then she go see say even street boy fit be hero." He didn't know how or when, but destiny had already started writing their next chapter. Days turned into weeks, and Amara tried to rebuild her life. She found a small room in Mushin, one of Lagos' most crowded neighborhoods, a place where people lived close, argued loud, and still managed to share food when someone went hungry. Her rent was cheap, but so was the life it bought. Every morning, she sold fruits by the roadside. Her once soft hands had grown rough from carrying baskets and washing oranges under the tap water that barely flowed. But her spirit, though bruised, was not yet broken. Still, she couldn't forget that night, the boy with kind eyes who sat beside her in silence when the world turned its back. Tund. Sometimes, when she walked past the bus park near Ojalegba, she hoped to see him again. But Lagos was big, and people like him were swallowed up by its endless noise. Meanwhile, life for Tund hadn't changed much, at least not on the surface. He still cleaned car windshields at traffic lights and begged for spare change. But something inside him had shifted. He had started saving. Every naira he earned, every coin tossed at him, he tucked it away inside an old plastic bottle hidden beneath a bridge. He didn't know exactly what he was saving for, maybe a better life, maybe a chance to find the woman who had reminded him what kindness felt like. His friends mocked him. "Now love day worry you?" one of them teased. "You think say fine woman like that go remember street boy?" Tun smiled. "Maybe she no remember me, but I go remember her. Sometimes that one enough." They laughed at him, but he didn't care. One hot afternoon, as Amara stood under her umbrella stall, fanning herself with a piece of cardboard, she heard a familiar voice. "Madam Orange, how much you day sell em today?" She turned, and there he was, Tund. Her heart skipped. He looked different, a little older, his hair neater, wearing a clean white shirt someone must have given him. But his eyes, those warm, honest eyes, were the same. "Tund," she gasped, a smile spreading before she could stop it. He grinned. "You still remember my name?" "How could I forget?" she said softly. "You saved me that night." He laughed. "I no do anything special. I just talk small." "Sometimes," she said, "words can save more than money can." They stood there for a moment, the world moving fast around them, hawkers shouting, buses honking, the sun blazing, but for a brief second, it felt like time slowed down. She offered him an orange. "Here. On the house." He shook his head. "No, oh. I go pay." "Tund, please." He smiled and took it, peeling it slowly. "You still fine like before," he said, half shy, half teasing. She laughed, shaking her head. "Stop lying. I sell fruits now, not wear fancy dresses." He shrugged. "No be cloth make person fine. Nah heart." Her laughter faded, and for a second, they just looked at each other. That was the day they became friends. Over the next few weeks, Tund visited her often. Sometimes to buy fruit, sometimes just to talk. They'd sit under her umbrella after sunset, when the street grew quieter. He told her stories about the street, how he and his friends survived, how some nights hunger kept them awake, and how he still dreamed of becoming a mechanic someday. "I go learn work," he said one evening. "I don't tire for begging." Amara smiled. "You'll make a good one. You have strong hands and a good mind." He looked at her. "You believe in me?" "I do," she said simply. That night, Tund went back to his bridge and opened his bottle of savings. For the first time, he counted it enough to pay a small apprentice fee at a local workshop. The next morning, he walked straight to Baba Sola's mechanic yard and begged for a chance. The old man looked him up and down. "You fit work?" "Yes, sir. I go do anything." "Even wash toilet?" "Even that." Baba Sola laughed. "Then come. Let's see how long you last." And so began Tund's new life. He worked hard at cleaning engines, fetching tools, washing greasy parts till his hands cracked. The other apprentices mocked him for his street accent, but he ignored them. Every day after work, he stopped by Amara's stall. Sometimes he brought leftover lunch from the workshop, sometimes she gave him oranges in return. It was small, but to them, it felt like the world. They were both building something brick by invisible brick, a friendship made from shared pain and unspoken care. But peace never lasts long in Lagos. One evening, as Amara packed her fruits, she saw a black Range Rover pull up beside her stall. Her breath caught. She knew that car. Chaik stepped out tall, polished, wearing an expensive suit. His cologne filled the air like arrogance. "Amara," he said, his tone smooth but cold. "I thought it was you." Her hands trembled. "What do you want?" He looked around, wrinkling his nose at the market smell. "So this is where you've been? Selling oranges?" "Leave me alone," she said firmly. He smirked. "Don't talk like that. You know, I didn't really mean to hurt you. My family." "Your family?" she cut in, her voice rising. "You used that excuse to destroy me. You made me believe I wasn't enough." People began to look their way, curious. Chaik lowered his voice. "Come with me. I can still fix things."
I'll set you up, get you an apartment, some money. You don't belong here.
Before she could answer, another voice spoke behind her. She belong anywhere she choose, Tun said, stepping forward, his work shirt stained with oil.
Chaik turned and laughed. Who are you? Her bodyguard?
No, Tun replied calmly.
Her friend. Chaik smirked. Friend? You? Look at yourself, man. You smell like engine oil. Tun didn't flinch. Better to smell of work than of lies. The crowd murmured. Chaik's eyes narrowed. You think this girl wants you? You think she'll choose a street boy over me?
Amara's heart pounded. The old pain rose inside her, but this time she didn't let it drown her.
She looked Chaik in the eye and said, I already did.
The crowd gasped. Chaik stood frozen, his pride wounded. Without another word, he turned, entered his car, and sped away.
When he was gone, Amara exhaled shakily.
Thank you, she whispered.
Tun smiled. You no need thank me. I just talk truth.
But in her eyes, he was more than a friend now. He was courage she never knew she had. That night, as rain began to fall, Amara closed her stall and stood under the awning, waiting for the storm to pass.
Tun came running, drenched and smiling.
You still here, he shouted over the rain.
She laughed. I was waiting for you. He grinned. You go catch cold.
Then share your jacket. He chuckled, removing his worn-out denim jacket and draping it over her shoulders.
The rain poured harder, but they didn't move. Amara looked up at him. You know, life is strange. A man with everything left me like I was nothing. And a man with nothing made me feel like everything. Tun swallowed, unsure how to answer.
Sometimes, not broken people fit love better. She smiled sadly.
Maybe that's true.
Their eyes met, and for a moment, the sound of rain was the only thing between them. The city lights reflected in the puddles, shimmering like lost dreams finding their way home. By the time the rain stopped, the streets were quiet. Amara leaned against the wall, her head resting lightly on Tun's shoulder.
What if tomorrow everything changes, she whispered. He looked down at her. Then we go face him together.
And in that single moment, under the fading glow of streetlights, soaked in rain, surrounded by the sleeping city, two souls that the world had forgotten finally found each other. The sun rose bright over Lagos, washing the city in golden dust. The early morning chorus of horns and chatter filled the air as buses screeched, hawkers shouted, and church bells rang somewhere in the distance. Amara woke up early that morning, her body tired from the long night but her heart strangely light. For the first time in months, she felt peace, the kind that didn't come from money or comfort, but from being understood. Tun had changed her world. Every day, he came to her stall after his apprenticeship, bringing stories, laughter, and sometimes small gifts, a roasted corn, a bead bracelet he found, or a book someone threw away. It wasn't about what he gave, it was about the thought. And Amara, too, found herself waiting for him, counting the hours until she'd see him appear, dusty and smiling, his hands stained with grease, his eyes full of warmth. To the people in the market, they had become inseparable, the fruit seller and the mechanic boy. Some teased them kindly, others whispered, but neither cared. In a city full of pretense, they were real. But life in Lagos is like the ocean, calm one moment, violent the next. One afternoon, as Amara arranged her baskets of oranges, she saw a woman approaching, tall, elegant, wearing a sharp black dress and sunglasses that reflected the sun. She looked out of place among the noise and dust. Are you Amara? The woman asked coldly.
Yes, Amara replied, uncertain.
The woman removed her glasses.
Good. My name is Chioma Okafor. I'm Chaik's fiancé. The words hit Amara like a slap.
Before she could speak, Chioma continued, I came because I wanted to see the girl who almost ruined my engagement.
You thought you could climb out of your gutter life into ours? You thought my man would marry you? Amara clenched her fists, her throat tight.
I never knew he was engaged.
He lied to me. Chioma laughed, a cruel, sharp sound.
They all say that.
But you knew your place, didn't you? Fruit seller.
Her voice dripped with venom. People nearby began to glance over.
Leave, Amara whispered.
Oh, I will, Chioma said, stepping closer. But remember this women like you are stepping stones.
We walk on you to reach the men you dream of.
Then she dropped a folded wad of money on the table. Take this. Buy yourself more oranges.
And stay away from Chike. Before Amara could react, Chioma turned and walked away, her heels clicking against the pavement like echoes of insult.
Amara stared at the money, then grabbed it, tore it in half, and threw it into the gutter. Her body shook with anger and humiliation.
That was the moment Tund arrived. He ran to her, eyes wide. Amara! What happened? But she didn't answer.
She just threw herself into his chest and began to cry. He held her close, confused but silent. The market noise faded around them.
She said I'm nothing, Amara choked. That people like me don't belong in their world. Tund tightened his hold.
Then make your own world, Amara.
We no need their world.
She looked up at him through tears.
And what kind of world do we have, Tund? You and me? A mechanic and a fruit seller?
He smiled sadly. A world where love no need title. Just heart. She wanted to believe him, she wanted to, but the bitterness of her past clung to her. Still, when he looked at her like that, with eyes that saw beyond her pain, something deep inside her stirred again. Days passed, and things slowly returned to normal, or so it seemed.
Tund threw himself into his apprenticeship.
His mentor, Baba Sola, had begun trusting him with more complex jobs.
He was learning fast, and customers liked his honesty. But even as he worked, he worried about Amara.
She had grown quieter, distant even. Some nights he found her staring at the horizon, lost in thought. Talk to me, he said one evening as they sat by the lagoon, watching the sunset paint the water.
She sighed. Do you ever feel like we're just pretending? That no matter how hard we try, the world will never let people like us rise? He took a long breath. I used to think so. But then I remember you. You give me reason to fight. Maybe that's all we need, one reason.
Her eyes softened.
You always know what to say. He grinned. Maybe now Legos teach me.
She laughed faintly, but her gaze lingered on the water.
Tund, what if I told you I want to start again?
Not just survive, really live. He looked at her curiously.
You get plan?
Yes, she said, her voice firming.
There's a women's cooperative in Yaba.
They help small traders open real shops.
I've been saving. Maybe I can rent a small kiosk, buy better fruits, even hire one helper. Tund's eyes shone. That one good. You go do Amara. I believe in you. She smiled. And what about you? What's your dream? He looked away shyly.
One day, I go open my own workshop.
Fix cars for big men. Put signboard, Tund Motors. She laughed. And maybe I'll supply you fruits for your customers. Not deal, he said, laughing too.
For a moment, everything felt possible, two dreamers standing by the lagoon, believing in the impossible. But fate, as always, had its own script. One night, as Tund was leaving the workshop, a group of men cornered him in the alley. He recognized one of them, it was Ikena, Chike's cousin.
Well, look who we have here, Ikena sneered. The famous street lover. Tund tensed. What you want? You embarrassed my family, Ikena spat. That market drama with Chike and that fruit girl, you think we forgot?
Before Tund could respond, one of the men punched him hard in the stomach. He staggered, gasping for breath. Stay away from her, Ikena growled. If we see you near her again, you'll wish you stayed under that bridge you came from. Then they left him bleeding in the dirt. Tund lay there for a long time, pain searing through his ribs.
But the worst pain wasn't physical, it was knowing someone wanted to destroy what little happiness he'd found. When Amara heard what happened, she rushed to the workshop.
She found Tund sitting on a stool, his face swollen, his arm bandaged. "Oh my God, Tund," she cried. "Who did this to you?" He shook his head. "No worry. Small fight." She knelt beside him. "Small fight? Look at you." He smiled weakly. "I still find small." Tears filled her eyes. "This is because of me, isn't it?" He stayed silent. She covered her face. "I can't let you suffer because of me. Maybe I should go." He reached out, gripping her wrist. "Don't talk like that. I fit handle myself." "But..." He stopped her. "Amara, listen. If we let them win, then we no different from cowards. You my friend. Maybe more. And I no go run from that." Her eyes met his, tired, wounded, but burning with truth. That night, she stayed by his side, cleaning his wounds and feeding him small pieces of bread. And as he drifted to sleep, she whispered softly, "You're not just my friend, Tund. You're my miracle." Weeks later, when Tund finally recovered, the two of them began rebuilding again, this time with fiercer determination. Amara opened her small kiosk with the help of the women's group. She painted it bright yellow and called it Amara's Fresh Fruits. Customers loved her friendly smile and clean display. Tund, too, improved quickly. His hard work earned him a permanent place in the workshop, and Baba Sola promised to teach him the business side of things. They were finally rising, step by step. But love, in Lagos, always comes with a price. One Saturday evening, as Amara locked up her shop, she saw a familiar car waiting nearby. Chike again. He stepped out, looking tired but regretful. "Amara, please. I just want to talk." She hesitated, glancing around. "What is it this time?" "I made a mistake," he said. "Chioma and I are done. I realized you were the only one who ever loved me for real." Amara folded her arms. "And you realized that after what?" "She humiliated me in public. You left me on the street." "I was stupid," he said softly. "Please. Let me make it right. Come back to me." Before she could respond, a voice came from behind Tund. "She no going anywhere." Chike turned sharply. "You again?" "Yes, me again," Tund said. "You had your chance. She know your toy." Chike smirked. "What can you offer her? Grease-stained hands and dreams that will never come true?" Tund stepped closer. "Maybe so. But I get heart. And heart no need money to love." Chike looked at Amara. "You really choose him?" She nodded slowly. "I already did, the day you left me in the rain." For the first time, Chike said nothing. His face hardened, pride winning over remorse. Without another word, he turned and left, his car fading into the distance once more. Tund exhaled. "You sure you okay?" Amara smiled. "Now I am." That night, they sat outside her shop under the stars, eating roasted corn and laughing softly. Amara leaned against him. "You know what's funny?" "What?" "I used to dream of fancy cars, gold bracelets, and big houses. But now, all I want is peace, and you." Tund chuckled. "Peace I get. The rest, we go work for 'em together." She smiled. Together. The streetlights flickered, the night air smelled of roasted groundnuts, and somewhere in the distance, a radio played an old love song. It wasn't a fairy tale. But it was real, and that was enough. The following months felt like a slow dawn breaking after a long night of rain. Zuri and Kofi had managed to rent a small kiosk near the central market in Kumasi. The money came from selling handmade beaded jewelry and woven baskets, crafted from coconut shells and recycled materials they collected together. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. Every morning, Kofi would wake up before the sun, sweep the front of their stall, and whistle a tune that always made Zuri smile. For the first time in a long while, her heart felt light. She often thought about how far she had come from being the rich man's toy to finding her peace beside a boy who once had nothing but a heart of gold. Kofi didn't wear fancy clothes or drive cars, but he carried something rare: dignity. One afternoon, as Zuri arranged necklaces on the stand, a familiar voice echoed from behind.
Zuri? Is that you?
Her heart skipped. She turned slowly, and there he was.
Malik.
The same man who had thrown her away like a used napkin, now standing before her in a polished suit. But this time, he didn't look powerful. His eyes were weary, his face thinner, his arrogance washed away by something heavy. Malik, she said softly, fighting the tremor in her voice. He looked around, clearly uncomfortable standing among market traders and street kids.
I've been looking for you.
Zuri's fingers froze over a bracelet.
Why? Haven't you hurt me enough?
Malik sighed, running a hand through his hair.
Things haven't been easy.
The business collapsed after that woman Aisha stole my clients.
I lost everything.
The cars, the apartment, all gone. Kofi, who was sitting a few steps away fixing a bamboo chair, looked up, sensing the tension. He quietly rose and walked closer, his eyes calm but protective. Malik noticed him and frowned.
Who's this?
Zuri smiled faintly. This is Kofi, the man who helped me when you left me to cry on the roadside.
The silence hung heavy.
Malik's face hardened, but shame clouded his eyes.
Zuri. I made mistakes. I realize that now.
You were the only one who truly cared for me.
I was blind.
Zuri looked at him long and deep. For a second, the old ache of love tried to whisper, but then she saw the dirt under Kofi's nails earned through honest work and remembered the nights Kofi had given her food when he hadn't eaten.
Malik, she said quietly, you didn't lose me because of fate.
You lost me because you never valued me. Kofi, humble as ever, started to turn away, not wanting to intrude.
But Zuri took his hand and held it tightly. Malik's expression twisted. Him?
A street boy? Zuri smiled, her voice steady.
Yes.
The street boy who gave me a new life. The one who showed me what love truly means.
Malik shook his head, laughing bitterly. You think this will last? He'll drag you back into poverty. But Zuri didn't waver. I've seen poverty, Malik. I've seen heartbreak.
And through all of that, I found happiness beside someone who never pretended to be a god. Kofi finally spoke, his tone calm but firm.
Money can build houses, but not homes.
I may not have much, but I have peace, and that's more than gold.
Malik stared at them, speechless.
He looked like a ghost of his old self, once proud, now hollow. Slowly, he turned away, disappearing into the crowd, swallowed by the noise of the market.
Zuri's hands trembled a little.
Do you think I was too harsh? She whispered.
Kofi shook his head gently. No.
You just spoke the truth. Sometimes truth hurts more than lies, but it sets the soul free. She smiled, leaning against his shoulder.
The world suddenly felt warm again. That evening, the market glowed under orange streetlights.
Music floated through the air as vendors packed up their goods. Kofi and Zuri sat beside their small fire, roasting maize and laughing about the day's customers. You know, Zuri teased, you could have been a lawyer with the way you talk about truth.
Kofi grinned. Maybe one day.
Or maybe I'll just stay the man who sells baskets but keeps his woman smiling.
Zuri burst into laughter. Then you better keep weaving fast. The customers love your baskets. Life went on, simple but sweet. Then one morning, an unexpected visitor arrived, a woman in a blue government uniform. She handed Kofi an envelope.
The youth empowerment program you applied for, your proposal has been accepted. You'll get funding to expand your craft business.
Zuri gasped, clutching his arm. Kofi, you did it.
Tears welled in his eyes as he read the letter. It was an opportunity beyond dreams, training, funding, a chance to build something real. He looked at Zuri, his voice low with gratitude.
We did it, Zuri. You believed in me.
From that day, their lives began to change again, this time not through wealth or luck, but through hard work and trust. The little kiosk grew into a small workshop. They started teaching other street kids how to craft baskets, jewelry, and souvenirs. Slowly, they became known across the city not as poor lovers, but as the couple who turned pain into purpose. One evening, as they closed shop, a little girl approached with a worn-out shoe in her hand.
"Auntie Zuri, can you fix this?"
Zuri smiled, recognizing herself in that child, lost, innocent, hopeful. She took the shoe gently.
"Of course, my dear. Come tomorrow morning."
As the child ran off, Kofi said softly, "That was me once.
Barefoot and hungry."
Zuri turned to him, her eyes glowing.
"And now, you're someone's hero." He smiled back. "We both are."
They stood in silence, watching the sunset spill gold across the dusty street. It wasn't the city lights or luxury cars that made their hearts full, it was the simple peace of knowing they had each other, and they had survived. A year later, on the anniversary of the day they met, Kofi took Zuri to the same roadside where he'd once found her crying. The spot had changed, new shops, new faces, but the memory was still fresh. He held her hands and said, "That day, I didn't know who you were.
I just saw someone in pain. I didn't realize helping you would change my whole life."
Zuri's eyes filled with tears.
"And I didn't know that my heartbreak would lead me to real love."
He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small ring made of twisted copper wire. "It's not gold," he said softly, "but it's honest.
Marry me, Zuri."
Her voice broke as she whispered, "Yes." The people passing by cheered when they saw him kneel, and laughter filled the air. They weren't rich, but they had found what many spend lifetimes searching for, a love born from struggle, built on truth, and sealed with humility. That night, as they walked home hand in hand, the city lights glimmered like stars, and Zuri thought of her past, how betrayal had once crushed her, but now, she was reborn, stronger, freer. Kofi looked at her, smiling. "You know, maybe being poor isn't the curse everyone says it is."
Zuri chuckled.
"No, it's only a curse when you lose your heart. You, my Kofi, have the richest heart I've ever known." He squeezed her hand. "And you, my Zuri, are my miracle from the roadside." The sound of distant drums echoed through the night, blending with laughter and city noise. In that rhythm, they walked, two souls who had lost everything, yet somehow gained the world.